Okay, I'm doing the video to present the two careers that I will be talking about. And I will be talking about the career of being a police officer and the career of being a lawyer in general. Um, so, I have a little paper right here. I printed it all out, all the questions, front to back. So what are the typical job duties and work environment? So for a police officer, obviously their job is to protect the public. That's kind of like their main goal is to protect the public. They go through risks, really high pressure situations. They have to make second decisions for the greater good. It's pretty stressful, but basically their job duty is to protect the public as a whole. They do go through life-threatening situations. They have to be constantly aware. They work for really long hours. Yeah, just protecting the public from threats. Detectives are different from police officers. Police officers are usually the guys, sitting in the bush when you're going like five over, or showing up to a kind of low-level crime scene. Detectives are going to be wearing regular clothes, maybe suits, ties, just it's pretty standard stuff. Um, and there's also officers and detectives and people like that work on specific um, crimes like drugs, narcotics, the DEA, that kind of thing. For lawyers, they obviously work with law. They use it to with or against somebody or something. That's specifically a prosecutor. There's marriage lawyers, divorce lawyers, you know, will people, death lawyers, if that's what you want to call it. It's just using the law to solve disputes or issues for people who are didn't go through all the college and training to understand what the law is and how it works and where to look. Um, yeah. And then what are the qualifications required for the job? So for police officer, you must be 21. You must have a good record. You can't be a felony. You can't have a felony on your record. And you must be in physically good shape. You have to pass the academy. You have to pass a lie detector test. Um, pass meaning don't lie. Um, for the lawyer, it's a lot of schooling. It's 3 years of law school after a degree. You have to pass a bar exam. You know, studying tests, that kind of stuff. Just it's a pretty solid chunk of time for you to be a law-abiding practicing lawyer, and really make money at it too. And you have to be good at it. Best and worst parts about the job, obviously, being a police officer, you get to protect the public. You get to kind of be maybe the person that people run to when they need assistance. You're the first person at a scene. Downfalls obviously are it's life threatening. You could die. Um, you could have you could be forced to take someone else's life. Um, which obviously in my eyes is a downfall. I wouldn't want to necessarily kill anybody. You're taking someone's child. Um, but yeah, it's just a really stressful situation. Um, Definitely a downfall for any sort of death, but it is what it is. With lawyers, obviously defending people, getting people justice, helping people out, um, fairness, equality, all that jazz. The way just knowledge is power with lawyers. The more you know, the better you will be. Obviously you got to be good at like arguing and common sense, knowledge, critical thinking. But the more you know, the stronger you'll be. Downfalls obviously are defending someone who's guilty, prosecutors, defendees. I'm not sure what the word is, or failing to defend someone who you're relatively sure is innocent. You don't want to see anyone who's innocent go behind bars. Um, if you're a good lawyer, obviously. And yeah, definitely stressful to, because you can get attached to a case, you can get attached to a person. You want someone to see the outcome that they feel they deserve and that you feel that they deserve. So you fight for that. That's the whole point. What is the advice of the person that was interviewed? I've been on a ride along with an officer. I've talked to a lot of them. They all tell you you don't want to be an officer for the money. It's not necessarily about, yeah, it's a job, yeah, it pays you, But you're not going to be an officer just because you need a job. You're going to be an officer because you want to be an officer. You're going to be an officer because you want to protect people. You're going to be an officer because you like being constantly aware and vigilant and watching people. You know, the guy that circled you a couple times, went around the corner wrong, you know, covered his license plate by standing in front of it in a gas station parking lot. You want to notice that stuff. You want to be on edge. Um, you don't want to do it because you need the money. You're not going to be a good cop. You're not saying you're going to be a bad cop, but you're not there to fulfill the moral duty of a police officer. Is basically, that's you want to be there if you want to be there. If you want to be successful, you want to. With lawyers, my uncle's a lawyer. I've talked to him a lot, also because I was interested in being a lawyer. Um, he told you, it's a lot of schooling. You gotta want to. It takes dedication and um, commitment. It takes punishment to yourself. You have to push yourself through. It's not easy. It's tough. He I remember he was so busy. He couldn't even talk to his wife. He was studying, testing, studying. It was really critical. Really, really. You got to get this done. And now he's a practicing lawyer, which is great. Um, Specific skills required, especially employability skills. So obviously, for an officer, 21, clean record, you need to be fit. You need to have there's mile times. There's certain things you need to be capable of doing. If you're missing a leg, sorry, it's not probably not gonna happen. If you're not able to take control of a situation and tell somebody what they need to do, if you can't make decisions under pressure, critical thinking in a split seconds. If you feel like you can't do it, don't do it because you don't want to make the hard decision. And they'll train you anyway. So, but if you're just naturally against that, don't do it. And don't defend or enforce a law you don't believe in because that's gonna be biased towards you, obviously. Um, yeah, and I mean, obviously, you gotta want to, and you gotta show them that you want to too, because nobody wants to hire mediocre cop. Nobody wants to be protected by a mediocre cop either. Skills required for a lawyer: you have to be naturally intelligent. You can't be an idiot. You can't not have common sense. If you're really good at math, or really bad at arguing, or really bad at seeing things through for finishing what you're starting, fairness, justice, things like that. If you don't believe it, or if you can't think that way, there's things that are better for you, and you could be successful in a different spot. It's not about how you're an idiot or you can't do it. It's just not right for you. You gotta want to. Once again, these are jobs that aren't just, oh, I'll probably work the summer doing this. Like, no, this is a commitment. This is your job now. This is your role in society. You know, what kind of education or training is required? Um, for lawyers, it really can be never ending. You have to get a degree, and then you have to go to law school, obviously studying, testing, passing. You have to be good at it. The bar exam, you have to pass the bar exam to legally um, be a lawyer, be a practicing lawyer. If you don't pass the bar exam, sucks to suck. Um, for police officer, you have to pass the academy. You have to go through the academy. You have to pass a lie detector test. Um, you just have to be fit. You have to be a good citizen. Your record can't be bad. You just have to be a good person for the police officer, in shape, just overall, just good enough. And then for a lawyer, you have to be intelligent. And you have to just, you know, see things through, think things through, understand, make a plan. Um, High school classes, extracurricular activities, volunteer projects can help prepare you for a career. So this is a great question specifically for the police officer job because the police officer is specifically about the community, right? It's so great because ride-alongs, things like that, get familiar with your local department. Even if you don't want to work there, getting familiar with these people, getting their mindset, mirroring their mindset. Same thing with lawyers too. If you want to be a lawyer, talk to them. They're great people. They're very intelligent. You could learn the way they think, learn the way they do things. Um, you know, for officers, community services, obviously not forced ones, don't get in any trouble. Um, Fundraisers, any sort of community help, ride-alongs, things like that. Any sort of way that you can help them, it's a great way. They have a stand at fairs, things like that. Go up, talk to them, have a conversation, get yourself familiar, get their card. With lawyers, obviously, there's not a lot you can do until you're old enough to go to college because a lawyer is based off of a lot of schooling. You can just talk to them, learn how they think. You can get in contact with schools. You can take classes. Obviously, that's a great way. This class right here is a great one. History, especially the history of law. Learning your really foundation, the Constitution, things like that. Really foundational laws. It's a huge part of it. So just learning as much as you can, understanding as much as you can. If you think it's part of it, it's part of it. Even if it's not part of it, if it's gonna benefit you, either way, do it. But if it's gonna benefit you in the job, take the extra step. Just do it. Starting average salaries for the career in Idaho specifically, cops usually start between 55 and 65. Well, I should say 55 is starting. It can be as low as like maybe 50 to 45, but usually they don't make more than 65. It's just an officer. They just That's not gonna happen. Um, for lawyers, it's a bit more iffy because if you went to Harvard Law School, you can instantly get into a firm and you could be making 100 grand. Just starting. But obviously, it's a up or out kind of system. So if you can get fired if you're not gonna make it anywhere in promotions. Um, in Idaho, obviously, there's firms there that take that kind of thing, but also there's people who just are state defendants. They don't get paid a lot. I want to say, I think it's more about the cases, but according to the source, it says between 50 and $130,000 a year. So it's a big, big gap. It could be less, it could be more. It's just an average. When you're starting out, and if you didn't go to a huge famous school and you didn't get your lined up with your daddy's law firm, it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be tough, but that's all part of it too. Being a lawyer isn't easy at all. The availability positions in Idaho. Being a lawyer, being a police officer are really big jobs nationally. So it's not like they're hard to get. There's a huge part of society. Lawyers defend and prosecute. Huge part of society. Huge part of the justice system. All of it. We're always going to need lawyers. There's always people dying. There's always people getting fired. Always needing lawyers, new firms, things like that. There's no shortage. Same thing with police officers. This day and age too. Nobody wants to be a cop. Or not nobody, but a lot of people refrain from being a cop. So, I mean, I'm not saying right now it's a specific time where it's needed. Cops are always needed. It's there's not a shortage either. The more the merrier. Yes. Um, the typical working conditions for this career. Um, with an officer, it's more of like a field. It could be anything. It could be sitting in an air conditioned car all day watching cars see you and slow down really quick so they don't think they're getting pulled over and watch you in the mirror for the next mile. It could be, running through fields. It could be chasing, shooting. It could be a lot of things. I have a lot of adjectives right here: running, waiting, walking, chasing, talking, arresting, protecting. It could be anything. It's a field job. It's based off of the situation. It literally could be talking to someone all day long. It could be running all day long. It could be waiting all day long, chasing, protecting, defending, that kind of thing. It's super, super unpredictable. Um, with lawyers, it's more predictable. A lot of schedule, court dates, things like that. It's all on a schedule. It's a desk job. Usually, you're not really gonna be anywhere threatening, obviously, but it's just not. It's comfortable. It's it's in a building. Super desk job. High pay. Um, you know, physically comfortable. Obviously stressful, but physically comfortable. And then to compare and contrast these, it's more about the kind of person you are and what you want to accomplish. Personally, I would choose being a police officer over a lawyer. Um, Not because of the schooling, not because of the time it takes or the dedication or something like that, but I feel just drawn to being a police officer. There's not really a certain thing for me, but obviously, desk job or field job, you know? Like, I could say, I mean, I really hate to call it, construction or, you're just out in the sun. It's just more about what you want. Um, Obviously, with lawyers, it's going to be more comfortable, like I said, AC, but you're working with people who are relying on you for possibly the rest of their life. It could be you defending them, prosecuting them. You could change the span of their life, where they end up, who they're gonna be. And same thing with police officers, but different. At the same time, it's just more about what you want. They both practice law, but they usually don't like each other. Funny enough. But yeah, definitely, definitely cool. Definitely great positions, and I wouldn't deny either of them, but I would just choose the police officer over being a lawyer. Uh, Thank you.